The HOA cop's voice cracked through the air like a whip. "Step out of the truck, now!" His pistol shook in his hands, leveled straight at my son, Jason. He didn't flinch. His eyes stayed locked, calm and unreadable, the kind of focus only a man who's seen war could have. But me? My heart nearly tore right out of my chest. A man in a fake vest was pointing a gun at my boy, right here on our own land. Before we get to how this mess started, let's see how far this story travels. When I bought this ranch outside Willow Creek, I thought I'd found real freedom. 40 acres of cedar, pasture, and peace. The kind of place where the loudest thing you heard in summer were the cicadas. A place where neighbors waved instead of watching, where no one told you what color your fence had to be or how tall your grass should grow. And for a few years, that's exactly how it was. Quiet, simple, good. Then the HOA came. A new development sprang up next door, all manicured lawns and identical mailboxes. I didn't think much of it at first, but soon enough the peace started to crack. Flyers showed up on my gate, nonsense about non-compliant fencing and unauthorized structures visible from the road. Then came letters calling my barn an eyesore. It would have been funny if it wasn't so persistent. See, my land was never part of their subdivision. My deed proved it. But they didn't care. The board, led by Patricia Hall, decided my property didn't fit the image. And once they started, they wouldn't stop. Things really took a turn when Jason came home. He'd just left the military, years of service overseas behind him, and wanted a quiet place to breathe, to heal, to help me keep the ranch running. Instead, Patricia and her people treated him like a trespasser. One day, a notice appeared in my mailbox. 55 plus community rule, effective immediately. Jason was 30. It was aimed squarely at him. Then came Carl. Carl wasn't a cop, wasn't even licensed security anymore, though his badge said otherwise. He drove around in a beat-up Tahoe marked HOA enforcement, strutting like he owned the county. Wore a black vest with HOA COP stamped across the front in big white letters, and a smirk that said he believed it. At first it was petty. I caught him taking photos of Jason's truck, scribbling fake citations, even trying to peek through our barn windows like he was on some secret mission. That's when I'd had enough. I marched straight into Patricia's little office, slammed the stack of citations on her desk, and said flat out, "My ranch isn't part of your HOA. Call off your attack dog." Her smile didn't move an inch. "Carl is here to ensure community safety," she said smoothly. "If your son's presence causes concern, we have every right to respond." My jaw tightened. "You don't have any jurisdiction over me or over him." Patricia leaned forward, voice dropping low like she was sharing a secret. "Maybe not legally," she said, "but perception is power. And right now, people perceive your son as out of place." That's when I realized this wasn't confusion. It was a campaign. They wanted Jason gone because he didn't fit their picture of community. And Carl? He was their weapon. For weeks, tension built like thunderclouds. Carl started tailing Jason on the county road, blocking his truck at the gate, muttering threats about rules. I told Jason to keep calm, to let me handle it. He just smiled that quiet soldier smile. "Dad, I've seen worse than wannabe cops." But Carl didn't stop. He escalated. And then came the day everything broke. That morning started like any other. Jason had just come back from hauling hay, shirt streaked with dust, ball cap low against the sun. I was tightening the barn hinges when I heard the sound. Gravel crunching, tires slow and deliberate. Carl's Tahoe rolled up halfway down my drive, kicking dust into the light. He swung out of the seat with a swagger, one hand already resting near his holster. His vest caught the sunlight, HOA COP shining like some twisted badge of authority. Jason stepped out of the truck, wiping sweat from his brow. That's when Carl's pistol came up, snapping level with Jason's chest. "Step out of the truck now," Carl barked. His voice was too loud, too shaky. Jason froze, not from fear, but calculation. His eyes narrowed, assessing, waiting. "Carl, put the damn gun down," I shouted, moving toward them. He ignored me completely. "This man is a violation," Carl said. "He's not allowed on this property. He's a threat to the community. I'm detaining him under HOA authority." I could barely believe what I was hearing. HOA authority? That's not a thing. You're trespassing, Carl, and you're armed. You're committing a felony. Carl's lip curled. Shut your mouth, old man. You've let this punk stay here long enough. I'll fix it myself. Jason's voice came out low and steady. You don't want to do this. Carl sneered. You think I'm scared of you? Rules are rules. People like you don't belong here. Jason tilted, his head slightly that calm, dangerous half-smile on his face. Buddy, he said quietly, I've had real guns pointed at me by people who actually knew how to use them. Your shaking Carl's finger was on the trigger. One twitch, and this lunatic could have taken a life. Drop the weapon, I warned. That's impersonation of an officer. You'll go to prison for this. Carl turned toward me, eyes wild. Shut up! That's when Jason moved. He sidestepped, twisted Carl's arm, and disarmed him in a single motion, so fast it looked like time itself stuttered. The gun hit the dirt. Carl stumbled back, clutching his wrist, face pale. You. What the hell are you? He gasped. Jason's eyes were cold. Special Forces, he said, and you just pointed a gun at the wrong man. The air went still. Carl's vest, his badge, his entire act, it all looked small now. Jason dropped the magazine, cleared the chamber, and handed the gun to me. Dad, he's dangerous. He's not going to stop. I stared down at the pistol, still warm from Carl's trembling hands. No, I said quietly. He's not. But now we've got proof the game had changed. The war with the HOA had officially begun. The silence after Carl sped off was heavier than any storm. Jason stood beside me, breathing slow, his jaw tight. I could still smell the gunpowder on the wind. By dusk, the sheriff's deputies were at my gate. Their cruiser's lights painted the gravel blue and red bouncing off the barn walls. I handed them Carl's pistol and Jason's dashcam footage, the moment Carl drew his weapon, clear as day. Deputy Waters, a calm, steady man, walked the property with us. We'll take your statements and get that footage logged, he said. If this guy's been drawing a weapon unlawfully, that's a serious charge. He didn't need to tell me that. I'd already seen enough to know Carl had crossed every line there was. Jason stayed quiet as the deputies worked, hands in his pockets, the way he always did when things got serious. He'd learned to keep his cool under fire, but I could tell, behind that calm, he was boiling. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Within 48 hours, half the neighborhood had spoken up. Turns out Carl's antics weren't new. One neighbor had a photo of him from months earlier, strutting around in that fake vest. Another found a printout of what looked like a security incident log Carl kept in his truck. Dates, license plates, even notes about underage guests or non-conforming residents. When the sheriff's team searched his Tahoe, they found everything: the fake badge, a pile of violation slips with forged signatures, and a burner phone loaded with surveillance photos and voice memos. The charges came quick: impersonating an officer, trespassing, unlawful brandishing of a firearm, and assault with a deadly weapon. The kind of list that could put a man behind bars for a long time. But the real bomb dropped when digital forensics cracked Carl's phone. They found text messages and emails between him and the HOA board. The same people who claimed they had no idea what Carl was doing. And right in the middle of it all, Patricia Hall's right hand, Linda Harper. Her messages were short, sharp, businesslike. Make him uncomfortable. Apply pressure. He'll sell, keep it off the books. It was all there in writing. When the deputies confronted her with the evidence, Linda's face went pale. She tried to deny it, but the chain of messages told the whole story. They hadn't hired Carl for safety. They'd hired him to scare us, to make us miserable enough to give up our land. That discovery changed everything. The county attorney got involved. The state licensing board reopened Carl's old cases for impersonation and misconduct. Subpoenas started flying, and suddenly the HOA boardroom didn't look so smug anymore. Neighbors who'd been silent out of fear started talking. One couple had a voicemail from Linda warning them their teenage son would be disciplined if he kept parking near the gate. Another homeowner produced forged notices signed Carl, Enforcement Officer. Every story added weight to the pile. Civil lawyers got involved next. A class action suit formed overnight: harassment, intimidation, and emotional distress. And me? I filed my own case for aggravated assault and trespass. The HOA's insurance company tried to walk away, but once the proof of conspiracy hit the press, they folded fast. No company wants to be tied to an armed fake cop harassing veterans on private land. Within a week, Carl was arrested and charged. Linda faced conspiracy counts. Patricia resigned quietly before her name hit the docket. For the first time in months, Jason and I could breathe. But deep down, I knew the fight wasn't over. Because in Willow Creek, people like Patricia didn't just vanish. They regrouped. And I had a feeling this war was only just beginning. By the end of that week, the sheriff's office had turned our quiet little road into an investigation zone. Patrol cars came and went. Deputies talked to neighbors. News vans started parking by the county road. The story was spreading faster than wildfire. An HOA cop gone rogue, a veteran nearly gunned down, and a small-town board caught in a web of lies. I didn't want attention. I wanted justice. Deputy Waters called a few days later. "We got enough to move forward," he said. Carl's confessed to impersonating an officer and carrying unlawfully. He's also naming names. Turns out Carl didn't want to take the fall alone. The burner phone the sheriff's techs seized had more than messages. It had payment receipts. The HOA had been paying Carl under the table, labeling him a consultant. That broke the case wide open. The county prosecutor filed additional charges: conspiracy to intimidate, unlawful surveillance, and harassment. And once those words hit the courthouse, every homeowner who'd been bullied by Patricia's board finally stepped up. People who'd stayed quiet for years came forward with photos, notes, and memories of Carl patrolling their streets like he was running a checkpoint. Even the local paper ran the headline, "Fake Cop Scandal Rocks Willow Creek HOA." Carl pled guilty to 2 felonies and 3 misdemeanors. He got a suspended sentence, probation, and mandatory restitution to the families he'd threatened. He'd never carry a badge, or even pretend to again. But Linda Harper and Patricia Hall didn't walk away so easily. The district attorney's office filed charges against both of them for conspiracy and criminal harassment. In court, the evidence spoke louder than they ever could. The texts, the money transfers, the "pressure him till he sells" line, it all painted a clear picture. When Patricia took the stand, she tried to talk her way out of it, saying it was all a misunderstanding, just poor communication. But the jury didn't buy it. She'd built her entire community on control, and it crumbled right in front of her. The judge handed down fines, probation, and a permanent injunction preventing them from holding any HOA authority again. The county froze the HOA's accounts and placed it under temporary receivership. Within weeks, the HOA was effectively dissolved. Jason and I watched from our porch as the signs came down. The Willow Creek Estates HOA office was boarded up, the mailbox empty for the first time in years. For once, the air around the ranch felt clean again. One afternoon, Jason came out of the barn holding a wrench and said, "You think this is finally over?" I looked out at the fading sunlight over the fields. "Maybe not over," I said, "but balanced." He nodded, that quiet, thoughtful look in his eyes. They thought they could bully everyone into silence. "And they learned the hard way," I said, "that fear doesn't last forever." When the settlement came through months later, I didn't care much about the money. Sure, the court awarded damages, enough to cover legal fees and then some, but what mattered more was the principle. The people who used intimidation as a weapon had been exposed, and the truth had stood taller than their lies. Life went back to a slower rhythm. The cicadas sang again at sunset. The gate stayed closed, not out of fear this time, but peace. Sometimes I'd catch Jason staring out across the pasture, that faraway soldier's look in his eyes, and I knew he was replaying that day in his mind, the pistol shaking, the line between right and wrong drawn in dust and fear. But in the end, justice had come to Willow Creek. And as I stood there beside him, the ranch quiet under a wide Texas sky, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, not anger, not victory, but peace.